My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today we're going to talk about how to become bully-proof and how not to be a target for predators. So let's take it from the top. The most important thing that you're going to have to learn about bullies and predators is that they're not trying to test their physical strength against anybody. They're not trying to test their physical skills. That's number one. And they're not trying to test their intelligence with anybody either. What they're really trying to do is take advantage of weak, vulnerable people. In other words, they're going after the easiest targets. And therefore, you need to be ready to fight back physically and cognitively. Now, I don't mean you have to start getting into a physical altercation, but you do need to push back. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of this. So I've been a mental health clinician now for quite a while. And over the years, I have worked with many angry, violent, antisocial types of people, sadistic people. And what I would try to do at some point in the therapy is try to sublimate their anger and violence into something good. So especially for younger people, I would suggest, hey, why don't you join a boxing team? Why don't you go join a UFC type of place? Why don't you learn karate? Why don't you join the football team, the wrestling team, something like this? And if you really want to argue all the time and you want to do that type of thing and try to prove how smart you are, join a debate team in your high school or your college. Do you want me to tell you the success rate on that? It's about 0%. And there's a reason for that. It's not because I fail all the time, and it's not because all other therapists fail at that too. It's because, again, predators and bullies are not looking to test their skills. What scares them to death is to actually go to a place where people are learning how to defend themselves, whether either rhetorically or physically. They don't want any part of that. They don't enjoy boxing, karate, UFC. They're not doing any of that. They're looking to hurt people and take advantage of people. Thus, if you push back even a little bit, they're going to go away because they're still going to look for the easiest target. Now, you could go out in the wild, say Kruger National Park, and look at the biggest, nastiest male lion you could ever see. They don't test themselves against a Cape buffalo. They don't do that. What they do is that they look for a small, young, baby even, or a sick buffalo to go after. Why? Because they're not trying to test their ability and maybe get a chance to get hurt. So it's the same thing in the wild as it is with human beings. It's not much different. So number two, and going with this thought, don't look like an easy target. How do we do this? You want to walk with a purpose. You want to pick your head up. You want to have your head on a swivel. You want to be aware of your environment. Use your eyes to scan your territory or where you are. I see this a lot, especially with women. What they'll do is they walk with their eyes down, they slump over, and they got that posture that looks like that you just don't even want to be around. And somehow they think that that's like that ostrich in the sand, right? Or with the head in the sand, where if they can't see anything around them, then nobody could see them. That makes no sense. When people do that and they're walking aimlessly, it looks like they're lost. And for a predator or a bully type of person, that looks like red meat to them. So what you want to do is, if you're going to walk out to your car, you walk with a purpose and keep your eyes up and look around. The last thing a predator or bully wants is for you to be able to identify them. So I would look at them, give them a look, make sure you're conscious, make sure you are alert. Extremely important. Again, don't look like you're already afraid of people. Know where you want to go, because they'll look at you and they'll go, wow, that's a person who knows what they want. They look pretty confident. And they immediately radar to something else, something weaker. Moving on, number three. Never, ever, ever give up the fight to be autonomous. Never give up the fight to be independent. Now, let's go over this. Autonomous. It means that nobody is going to force you to do something that you disagree with or that's against your values and virtues. Independent. It means you do not need help and you do not need resources and you don't need care from other people in order to survive. This is extremely important. Don't sacrifice your strength. Don't sacrifice your power in order to get by in a relationship. About 2 weeks ago, I talked to this woman, middle-aged now. She has a Bachelor of Science degree, but she never used it, and she lost all of her friends. She wasn't communicating with others. She lost all of her work alliances, hasn't worked in about 15 years. When her husband left her, she had nothing. And she ended up being homeless for a while. As sad as that is, a lot of this can be prevented. She let everything go. So again, do not sacrifice your power for another human being. Now, if you're a young person and you're looking to, say, rent an apartment, and just to round off numbers, I know things are expensive these days, but let's just go with it. If you're renting something that's $1,000 and you have a friend or a partner and they're going to say they're going to put in 500 and you're going to put in 500, that's fine. Except you better be able to pay that 1,000 if needed. So maybe I'm being a little conservative here, but to be safe, I would say don't move in with that person unless you can afford that apartment by yourself. Because if this person becomes a bullying type, a predator type, an abusive type, and you know that you don't have any friends anymore, or your family has kind of pushed you out and you're not allowed to come back, guess what? You might be coerced or encouraged in some way to do things that are against your value system because you can't afford the situation you're in. Again, don't give up your power. And continuing with that, therefore, I would say you want to make yourself as valuable as possible in a capitalistic world. And by that, I mean money. Okay, that's just the bottom line. You need to be able to extract money from our society. That's important. Also, or in addition, I would say you need to train yourself to be likable and to be adaptable and to be competent and to be able to be a leader, but also a team player, depending on the situation and what your goal is and what's needed. This will give you more options, and options are important. Again, bullies, predators, people who are abusive, they hate people that have options because they know that they have an escape plan. So do not limit your options. Now, I know in this day and age, somebody heard me say, right? They're going to say, are you telling me that in order to get along with other people, I need to make myself likable? In other words, I'm not being authentic. I'm just going to make myself likable to get along in the world. And I can understand somebody saying that because in current psychology, that seems to be the trigger word. You need to be authentic. Don't do anything that anybody else would want you to do, right? Just be alone kind of thing. I don't mean it like that. What I'm saying is you can be authentic to yourself. And when you're doing the things that you like to do and you're following the path in your life that you want to, you're going to tend to have more self-esteem. And when that happens, you're going to tend to be a happier person. And from that, you're going to become more likable. Therefore, let's take the opposite now. If you're an unlikable person who doesn't like themselves and who's annoyed at everybody, and you are very easily triggered, easily angered, and extremely judgmental, you're going to limit your options about how many people want to be around you. And so therefore, your world is going to close down. And when that happens, again, it's not 100%, of course, but you are increasing your chances of being bullied, abused, or a predator looking at you. continuing with that, I would say another important thing in order not to be bullied or to be totally not in the path of a predator would be is to have a high degree of self-esteem. Two major parts to this. Number one, if you have self-esteem, you're going to believe that you're a competent person who can take care of themselves. It's very important. And the second part, just as important, you'll believe that you deserve to be loved because you are worthy and valuable. You accept the love that's given to you. And if you're not in a position to receive love at that time, you know that you're definitely worth it, that someone will find you, this type of thing. So you care about yourself. You don't do things to hurt yourself on purpose. So that's important. What is the path to self-esteem? And that's a good question. I'm going to do this really quick because I can do many shows on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer to probably the Bible of self-esteem, written by Nathaniel Branden, called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. So let's go over this real quick. He says that there's 6 paths. I don't see any reason to be contrarian to that. So number 1, the path to self-esteem, the practice of living consciously. Number 2, the practice of self-acceptance. Number 3, the practice of self-responsibility. Number 4, the practice of self-assertiveness. Number 5, the practice of living intentionally. And number 6, the practice of living with integrity. Now, I repeated part of the phrase 6 times, and I did that on purpose because it's extremely important. The practice of. And that is what's going to get you self-esteem, is practicing these things. I talk to many people these days, and when I'm dealing with young people, they all think that they're so smart and intelligent. Part of that's their youth, right? They don't know what they don't know. The other part of it is because they all go to Google University. They think they can Google anything, they get a definition, and they go, oh, Joe, I know what self-esteem is. I Googled it. I know what that is. That's the first point. The second part is, unfortunately, there's a lot of older people that have fallen into this Google virus, where they Google a word, they think they know it, and they go, oh, don't worry, we don't need to go over that. And I'm like, well, you don't know anything, because if you're looking up a definition, and you're not actually practicing anything, you don't know it. I mean, for example, if we're talking about grit, if we're talking about determination, values, virtues, we're talking about perseverance, resilience, honor, keep going, there's a million words. None of these you can look up in the dictionary and say you know it. These are things that you need to live it, you need to demonstrate it, period. If you can't do that and you're not doing that and you're not in the practice of doing it, you don't know it. I don't care if you know how to spell the word, and I don't care if you know how to read the definition. You're not doing any of it. Time and time again, I get young people and old people going, oh, I got it. I know what it is. I Googled it. And yet, every week, every month, more anxiety, more depression, more suicide. I have over 109 people on my waiting list as a therapist right now. Wake up in the morning, I'm like, that's great. That's, it's like, good, I have a job, but are you kidding me? Should there be that many people on my waiting list trying to get in? Like, no, there shouldn't be that many people that are hurting, that have that much anxiety and depression and don't know what's going on in life. Why? Because they can Google words, but they don't know how to live. Continuing. You want to adopt an internal locus of control. Why? Because you want to have agency over your own thoughts, your own actions, and your own life. Now, the term locus throws people off. It doesn't really mean anything other than place. So who has the control? Internally, that's where the control is. Now, there are things in life that are not under your control, and there are things that are under your control. Your job is to control controllable things. Therefore, when you wake up in the morning, you know what's controllable, And if you have an internal locus of control, you say, I will do A, B, and C to get these things done. A person who has an internal locus of control, it's very, very difficult to bully them. It's very difficult to abuse them, because I don't just hand it over to somebody else and go, well, why should I try? These things just happen. You know, everything happens for a reason. Well, of course things happen for a reason. One of the things that happens for a reason is because people don't work hard enough. And it's because people don't believe in themselves. How about those reasons? You can also make things change for the better by actually taking control over your life. Again, internal locus of control. Let's continue. This one's extremely important, as they all are. I don't actually have them in order in terms of importance. Maintain healthy social networks. Why? Because bullies, predators, abusers, they love to separate their victims from their families, from their friends, from their professional networks. Never, ever, ever give away your access to people who have your back. And don't give up the access to people who will give you a helping hand when you need it. Time and time again, as a mental health clinician, I've seen people so isolated, so withdrawn, and sometimes by their own will because they're trusting people too much. Again, if a person is trustworthy, they should want to see you grow in life. They should not be controlling who you're talking to. They shouldn't be controlling who your friends are, if you're allowed to talk to your family. They should not separate you from your parents or whoever, or they don't like you hanging out with your work friends. All of these are red flags to say, if you go along that path, and again, I'm not saying it's 100%, I'm just saying things happen. If you do that, and you shrink all your social connections, you are putting yourself at a huge risk to be abused, to be bullied, and of course to be a target for other predators. Predators love people who are alone, who have nobody to complain to, and they don't have any other friends to bounce things back and forth with, such as somebody does something really odd or wrong. They don't want you telling your friends about that, because then they'll be found out. So again, they're looking for people who have no social connections. So let's finish with this. Again, something very important. If you don't want to be bullied or abused or be a target, you have to be very comfortable with who you are as a person and the things that you're doing in your life and the path that you're going. Because if somebody really was to hurt you emotionally by bullying, by saying something negative to you, the only way that that can truly happen is if you give them permission to do it. And the reason why you would do this is because somewhere down deep inside, and most people don't want to admit this, but you're agreeing with them in some sense. Like if somebody said to me, oh, you must be a boomer, I don't like your Gold's Gym shirt. They're really not popular anymore. Okay? See, to me, I don't take that as a put down. That would not hurt me. First of all, it's good to get older. What's the alternative? I'm glad to be here. Let's just say that. That's number one. Number two, if it wasn't for Gold's Gym, which is the mecca for bodybuilding, all these other gyms wouldn't exist. Now, a young person who says that, who tries to put you down because of that, I laugh. Because it's somehow or some reason why, but in America, we exalt youth for no reason other than the fact that they have no experience. Somehow, way, maybe because they spend more money on frivolous garbage, that they're worth a lot in America. However, if you know who you are and you know what you stand for and you know what your life is and what it's been about, somebody making fun of you like that would mean absolutely nothing to you. And somebody could say, hey, Joe, I don't like your hairstyle. Well, hey, guess what? It didn't just happen. I chose that hairstyle. My girlfriend does hair. She does my hair in a certain way. I like the way it is. So there's nothing that somebody could say to hurt me because I like who I am, and these are choices that I'm making for myself. Now, if somebody said to me, I don't like your hair, and I took that personally and I don't like it, that means that there's somewhere down deep inside, I don't like my hair. Or whatever, fill in the blanks on any other type of thing that you want to. They could say they don't like, I don't know, that I still like classic rock music. That's a good one, because I actually want to do a show on the Super Bowl halftime thing the other day. And a lot of people would say, okay, boomer, like, it's time to move on. You don't have to like that music anymore. You're showing your age. I'm like, well, no, that's actually a good thing. Because somewhere there is people who actually still love and they respect and they honor people that can play music with human hands. And they actually sing without auto-tune. Or they actually sing without having to lip sync. Now, yes, those people might be getting smaller and smaller, so to speak, but it doesn't matter. If you're proud of where you come from and what you've heard and what you like, somebody saying something like that, making fun of your music, would not even make a dent. I would laugh at it. I'm unbullyable. Let's just say that. So hopefully I gave you 7 ways to become bully proof and how not to be a target throughout your life. And definitely how to be a person who can scare away predators. I gave you 7 ways to do that. Hopefully some of this was valuable to you. Hopefully you can subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.